Hello, my name is Maria Bezubova and you're at my channel Fertilizers Jazz. Here we talk about events, trends, technologies in the world of fertilizers and agriculture. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, and let's jazz! Today is September 9th, 2024, and it is a weekly markets update. Let's have a look at the news of week 36 and see what are the next trends. Also, please check my interview with Silvia Draganida, Senior Ammonia Editor at ICIS, published last week, where Silvia shares her expectations for ammonia market in Q4. Finally, urea market finally received long-awaited news from the Indian tender. The patience of market participants was rewarded, and tender results spur the momentum in the market. Urea market was bearish since beginning of July, and previous Indian tender that was closed mid-July resulted in purchase of only 433,000 tons. So the market was eagerly waiting for India to purchase now about 1 million tons, and it was needed to support the bearish trend amid soft demand in all key markets. And India indeed will purchase 1,170,000 tons, split into 440,000 to the east coast and 730,000 to the west coast. It is not the final confirmed number, though we will see the final results later this week. Very healthy rains during current monsoon season and lower than usual stocks stimulated India to search for significant impulse amount. The market was happy to see prices proposed in the tender not much lower compared to current market price. The lowest offer from Amiropa to the east coast was $350, while lowest offer from the OQ trading to the west coast was $340. Final product oranges were not confirmed yet. However, most likely product from Middle East will dominate with at least 600,000 to 700,000 tons. Another 300,000 tons of prills will likely arrive from Baltics, and about 100,000 tons will come from Southeast Asia. What does that mean for the producers? Price of Russian product in Baltics already slipped almost by $10 to the level of $285, $310 FOB, because netback from the Indian tender will be between mid-280s to 94. For the Middle East producers, Indian tender level is only a couple of dollars lower versus last week FOB levels, so spot prices also corrected downwards, but just marginally. Now, Middle East producers are comfortable for September and October. Central Asian producers shipping from the Black Sea will not participate, because netback FOB would be around $290 for them. That is much lower versus current price level. The same for Northern African producers. What does that mean for the buyers? European buyers immediately felt the effect with fresh sales of about 30,000 tons of Egyptian product in total that were sold at 347 and even 350 FOB, several dollars higher versus last level down. With more demand expected in Europe in upcoming weeks, as well as demand from South America, prices will increase further. Most likely, market will see about $10 upward correction. Apart from this main event, other news include large tender announced in Ethiopia by EABC for supply of 250,000 tons of urea in 5 lots to arrive between beginning of October to mid-November. Demand in Brazil is quite slow, with offers climbing to $355 to $60 CFR and beyond amid tender results. Demand in Argentina might increase now after the government confirmation of tax reduction for currency purchasing by 10 percentage points, despite the total amount of imports to the country in 2024 are already high, much higher versus a year ago. Ukrainian Odessa port plant has restarted on the 4th of September after more than 3 years being offline. It will operate 1 ammonia and 1 prilled urea line. The vast majority of the product will be sold in the domestic market. After purchasing of 20 LNG cargoes, Egypt seemed to solve its gas supply problem, at least for the hottest period of the year, through September. However, this problem seems to be cut off but not fully solved. Last week, Egypt issued a tender for purchase of 20 more LNG vessels to cover winter demand, which is the first time since 2018. This happens due to a further decline of domestic gas output and continuous increase of gas demand in the country. Not only for fertilizers production, of course. We will follow developments in this story. Hopefully LNG will arrive in time and be enough to cover the demand in front of key nitrogen season in Europe and will not put at threat Egyptian fertilizers production again. Qatar Energy made a big announcement last week that they're planning to double their urea capacity to 12.4 million tons per year by 2030. This will potentially make Qatar the largest urea producer and exporter globally. Paper values are all in green. They shoot up by $5 to $15 depending on the benchmark amid very positive results of Indian tender. Egypt FOB values increased by $10 for September and October to the average of $345, and November average climbed by $5 to the average $340. NOL FOB values increased by $4 for September to $307, to the average of $310 for October, and to the average of $315 for November, plus $12 versus a week ago. Arab Gulf FOB value increased by $7 for September to $333 average, and by $10 for October and November to the average of $335. Brazil CFR gained the most, $20 for October to the average of $355, and $13 for November to the average $348. Ammonium sulfate market prices remained mostly stable because all buyers were waiting for the Indian tender to give direction to the market. In China, standard AMSUL prices were unchanged at the level of $140 to $45 FOB, but many suppliers are out of product for September shipment and also scarce for October shipment. Thus, taking into account general bullish sentiment after the tender, the prices might start increasing. Granular AMSUL prices were indicated at the level of $160 to $65 FOB, same versus a week ago. Brazilian demand was very slow, while some interest was evident in the Central America, with inquiry for 20 to 25,000 tons for October shipment circulating in the market. Prices in Europe slightly moved up, mostly due to tight supply, but actual activity is expected to pick up in upcoming several weeks. In nitrates and UAN markets, it was another quiet week with no activity. In ammonia market, supply east of Suez continues tightening due to unexpected stoppage of ammonia line at Maaden plant on the 31st of August. Market sources indicate that it might be out of production for 15 days, meaning about 50,000 tons will be out of the market. This is additionally to expected 90,000 tons outage due to stop mid-September amid another technical issue. Thus, prices for October might increase. Other than that, Indian spot demand remains strong. Product is needed for domestic DAP production. This resulted in spot sales of 13,000 tons of Bangladeshi product to IFCO at around $400 CFR. More purchases are expected in upcoming weeks, perhaps at similar price level. In phosphate segment, there was again activity in India, while in other regions the week was rather uneventful. Indian DAP stocks decreased further, reaching 1,700,000 tons. Thus, Indian buyers are actively purchasing on spot as well as via tenders. Last week, two buyers purchased 100,000 tons of Saudi DAP at $620 CFR, similar level compared to OCP deal earlier. Another 30,000 tons were purchased from Fosagro at the same price level. Two tenders were issued last week, one from NFL for 60 to 100,000 tons, closing today, second from RCF for two 20,000 tons each lots of either MAP or DAP closing on September 14. The tender for 50,000 tons from the previous week was prolonged until today. Also, Indian importers are active in spot purchases of NPS as an alternative to DAP. Last week, Maaden, together with DAP, sold 30,000 tons of NP 2020. Also, a tender for a purchase of 70,000 tons of NP 2020 emerged from the Indian importer, closing today. On top of that, market is awaiting information from the tender of another importer for supply of 40,000 tons of triple 15 that was closed last Thursday. So, as you see, India is taking active steps to close the phosphate deficiency. However, it is really a challenge, taking into account tight availability and high prices. In Brazil, CFR price level remained unchanged at $635 to $40, with activity subdued. In Ethiopia, EABC tender is supposed to close today, so we will know results later this week. In China, DAP prices increased to $615 to $20 FOB, but offers for October shipment are unavailable now due to uncertainty about export quotas for the Q4. Obviously, this adds pressure to prices. In the potash segment, the news of the week was settlement of cross-border contract for September between China and Russia at $250 DAP, same price level of August. Moving to the fundamentals. European natural gas futures eased to below 37 euros per megawatt hour as markets assessed possible supply risks ahead of start of the seasonally higher demand winter. The Turkish government signed a 10-year LNG deal with Shell with the option of redirecting shipments to Europe, aligned with Ankara's goal to become a larger player in EU and Asian gas markets, and expanding Europe's rebuilding of supply chains since shocks caused by Russian invasion of Ukraine. This added to some security, as Europe's gas storage is at around 92% capacity, exceeding the EU's November target by over 2 months' worth of capacity. US natural gas futures, on the contrary, rose to $2.28 per MMBTU amid several factors. First, new data from the US Energy Information Administration showed that only 13 million cubic feet were added to US storages on the last week of August, below seasonal averages for the period and less than half of market expectations. Second, the US National Hurricane Center noted that tropical disturbances could develop into a cyclone in the Gulf region, threatening LNG shipments. And finally, US Midwest saw record high temperatures over the weekend, with over 60 million people receiving alerts for intense heat, increasing activity for air conditioners. Agricultural commodities future prices increased again this week. Wheat prices rose to $5.5 per bushel, rebounding from a 4-year low. Despite the availability of cheaper wheat from the Black Sea region, overall supplies remain constrained. In Canada, wheat production is projected to reach 34.4 million tons, which is below analysts' expectations of 35.1 million tons. This comes as global wheat stocks are forecasted to drop to a 9-year low. In Europe, heavy rains have damaged wheat crops in Germany and France. Kazakh wheat quality also was hit by rains. Turkey is expected to extend its import ban for wheat until January 2025. After hitting the lowest level again on September 2, corn futures rebounded to $4.06 per bushel. Market expects that the September USDA report that will be published this week will indicate decrease in the US corn production by 100 million bushels. So this is the early market reaction. Still, the harvest is expected to be record high, so let's watch the situation developing next week after the report publication. Soybean futures continued climbing up and reached over $10 per bushel on Friday. Weather has played a larger role in prices than most would typically assume for this time of the year. Over the last couple of weeks, the US Midwest has been suffering from extremely hot temperatures, plus precipitation levels were lower than desired by farmers. As a result, while some of the yield potential may disappear, lower production may be muted by lower demand. Moving to the shipping industry. Containerized freight index lost another 8% and is quickly approaching May levels. Market sources indicate that spot rates for containers for all routes are decreasing, and in upcoming weeks more decrease is expected, especially from China to Europe. So the May spike deflated, and perhaps we will see May levels sometime soon. The Baltic Exchange Dry Index increased by another 57 points or 3% during past week, marking the fourth consecutive weekly gain. And again, growth was driven mainly by the capesize segment, which advanced almost 3% due to the fact that several large miners in the Pacific became active. The Panamax segment index remained largely unchanged at an over one-year low, as owners continued to feel the recent pressure, particularly in the Atlantic basin, that was leading to discounts. Among smaller vessels, the Supramax index shed a couple points. The North and South Atlantic suffered from a lack of fresh inquiry, putting downward pressure on an already subdued Supramax market. Asia, on the other hand, seemed a bit more buoyant, although as the week ended, some said prompt tonnage availability was increasing. The handy sector saw minimal visible activity across both basins this week. To sum up, the Indian tender news of the week, and even of past months, I would say, supported the market, with almost 1.2 million tons booked at the price, which is not much lower versus current market level. The sentiment reversed completely, and now expectations for September and October are much brighter than a week ago. In ammonia segment, supply east of Suez is tightening due to another unexpected technical issue at Maaden plant that will take it out from the market for about 2 weeks. At the same time, Indian demand is strong, with more anticipated for DAP production. DAP imports to India continued to build up this week, with several fresh purchases conducted at the level similar to OCP deal, plus several tenders announced. Also, India is looking into substituting certain DAP amounts with NP and NPK imports, but we will see if these announced tenders find offers. Agricultural commodities futures continue increasing after hitting the bottom 2 weeks ago, amid concerns about weather conditions, specifically in US and to a certain extent in South America. European gas price futures decreased due to supply concerns calming down, partially because of the LNG deal signed by Turkey with Shell that has an option re-export. Containerized index continued losing points, while Baltic Dry index rebounded by 3% due to activity from mining companies in the Pacific. So let's see what is next around the corner, but it will be already next week. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, push the bell in order not to miss any updates, and see you soon.